Okay, of course, a lot of attractive men are going to walk by as I'm doing this. I'm single. Hello. Okay, I know that none of us like to watch videos that are longer than 30 seconds, but I have some things that I've been thinking about that I really want to share with you all. So push pause or just let it keep running and miss some of it, and go get yourself a snack, maybe some cheesy bread or Coca-Cola, a nice fresh beverage. This has not been sponsored by Coca-Cola, but just get a snack. And I want to tell you some things that I've been thinking. If you are new to the site, you may not know where the term love and respect now came from, but quick synopsis of my life. A year out of college, my parents started doing these love and respect marriage conferences, and I directed all their speaking engagements. And I would hear two phrases at every single conference. People would say, "Why didn't I know this 20 years ago? And if only I knew then what I know now." So fast forward 2 years of doing that. Then I almost got married, and then I didn't. And then I took some time off because my life was falling apart. and it was in that time of rest. I chose to rest and pause and take a break, but I also broke my ankle. And so I was forced into bed rest. And it was during that time that I struggled with my faith. I struggled with men and the idea of relationships and all these different things, but it was there that I think the seeds planted for me to eventually start Love and Respect Now. And so fast forward a while, and I went back to my parents and I said, I think I want to help. I don't want my generation to have to go through the heartache that I've gone through, or the heartache that I'm hearing people at your conferences having been through, or just even people not necessarily have gone through heartache, but now they understand their spouse so much and going, why didn't anybody teach us this 20 years ago? It's so simple. This has revolutionized our relationship. And so I was like, I want to help if I can. I know I'm not an expert, but I feel like I could relay some of this information to my generation. So my parents are great, and they were like, yeah, go for it. So then for a couple years, I started doing focus groups and research and different things, and I felt like it wasn't hard to try to understand this generation because I'm part of the generation. And so then I had all these ideas and these theories, and I said to my dad, I'm like, okay, I think this and I think that. And he was like, great. He's like, but you don't really know what your theories are, what you're thinking if you can't speak them or write them. And nobody's asking you to come speak, so start writing. And I was like, So I started one of the original old school, I think like Blogspot or Blogger or something like that. And you had to throw up an image, and I was really into unicorns, so I just found an image of a unicorn online and I started writing. And then eventually I started realizing that I learned so much when I ask people questions, especially older people who have been through a season before me. And so I was like, maybe if I had my generation write me questions, that would trigger me looking for the answer. Or, help me articulate what it is that I'm trying to say. And so then I was doing that, and then I was like, oh, I don't really like writing, but videos are fun. So then I started doing videos, and I've essentially been doing that for the last 5 years. So I have over 500 posts on loveandrespectnow.com answering y'all's questions and questions that I've had. But I hit a point this last summer where I was just like, you know what? I am so passionate about what my parents do, and I'm so passionate about helping my generation. But I also felt like, I wonder if there is a time where maybe me creating new content, maybe there's a end on this, I don't know. But I was really compelled to stop because I was just going full charge. And for me, it felt like just this last summer was when people actually were starting to notice the work, and I started getting more encouraging letters from all of you saying, I love this, thank you so much for what you're doing. Simultaneously, I was going, do I need to keep creating new content? And actually, one of the reasons that I'm wearing this shirt is, my mom's gonna be like,
I cannot believe you wore that shirt from the Goodwill.
that's how my mother talks. But this is like a $3 shirt that I love, and it was from one of my first videos that I ever did. Pseudo boyfriend. And it reminds me of one of the first videos that I did, and kind of thinking through all the videos that I've done, that really, I'm not one of those people that's like, what I said or what I wrote 5 years ago, I've changed my mind. Maybe someday I will, but at this point, like everything that I've done, I'm pretty much like, yeah, that's what I still think. This shirt also reminds me of during that time when I was down and depressed, I met my friend Erin. She was actually the one that was with me when I broke my ankle, and I bought this shirt with her. And so it does, whenever I see it, it reminds me of just that time of healing and forcing myself to be in community and heal with other people. And so the last 5 years of putting out content really has culminated in the thing that I've been working on kind of for the last 2 or 3 years, which is the Illumination Project. Because I finally got to a point where I was like, what is really going to help our generation? Because when you guys would write me, if I didn't really know you, my mind was always like, yeah, but what if they're writing it this way and I don't know the whole story and I'm so scared to tell them exactly what to do because I can't walk with them through this. And so back to like, you know, the shirt and being with Aaron and being in community and having my parents and close, wise friends, that's what the Illumination Project was really birthed out of, was this reality that I told so many people in my responses. Please go find people who actually know you, who really do know you. And because I am so honored that people are asking me for my opinion and my advice. But one thing that I really want to challenge my generation with is be careful of who you listen to. Not to tell you to be fearful, but there's so many people out there that like we get so caught up in emotion, or even humor can really disarm people. And we start just agreeing with people because of the way that they made us feel when we heard them talk, or they made us laugh, we think they're funny. And I think a lot of us start to abdicate thinking. And when we as a generation are getting to a point where we abdicate thinking because we just like that person and so we're listening to that person, I just want to caution us to be careful with that. I was on a flight recently, and it was this airline that I had never flown before, and they had screens on the back of everyone's chair, but there was no on-off button. Like literally the way that you could turn off your screen was you had to find this button where you like push the brightness all the way down. And it took me forever to find it, but nobody else did. I was like the only person that turned the screen on, and I was sitting at the back of the plane, and I just see hundreds of these screens, and everyone like, I just pictured everyone in their living room at home at night being like, and I was like, there's so much information coming to everybody, and I was just like, I had this weird, it's kind of like WALL-E, like this state of like, what are we gonna get to when so much information is coming to us that we stop trying to be wise, we stop really thinking, is this truth? Even though it feels, acts, smells, I like it, but is it true? Is it right? And so even as you maybe look back at some of my other videos, you know, a lot of times I'm answering for a specific person, and while I hope that what I'm saying will apply to everyone, be thoughtful. Be thoughtful about who you listen to. But one of the things that I have loved and been so encouraged by in the past 5 years of doing what I've been doing is when I get letters from you all, like, I realize how many of us really do want to get relationships right. Like, I don't get letters from people, and I'm sure there's some people out there like this, but I'm not getting letters where people are like,
I want to make somebody else's life miserable.
you know, like all of you are trying to figure it out because you want to make this work. You want to do the right thing. And so many of us in our generation, we do have hope for marriage. We do want to do relationship right. And that has like encouraged me so much. But what I've also seen is a lot of fear, and fear that comes out of what you've seen in your parents' life, or fear out of your own woundedness. And so there's this desire to get it right with this fear that you won't get it right. And so that's, again, why I created this thing called the Illumination Project, because I have this hope that it has to go beyond this screen of just you and I talking through a computer. You need to talk about this stuff with the people that you are in community with. And if you're not in community with people, it is more entertaining to just listen to somebody's advice online, someone who can make some silly videos. And it is easier to write in anonymously and ask somebody a question. But to actually maybe sit down with your parents, which might be a little bit more uncomfortable, or ask a pastor, or just somebody who has been in a stage of life beyond you, and ask them questions or share with them what you're going through, get things in the light. That's why it's called the Illumination Project, is gonna be just such a wiser place to live in. And so I've been telling people, seek older, wiser counsel. I've been telling them to get their relationships in the light, that there's so much freedom in that you don't have to keep things in the dark. And if you are keeping things in the dark, it's probably a good indication that something's not right, you know? And any person that I know that has gotten divorced or something, they had these red flags, but they didn't tell anyone. And then the last thing that I feel like I have consistently told so many people who would identify themselves as Christians is I write back and I go, God is not trying to trick you. And in this effort to get things right, there is a paranoia that many of you have that you're going to get it wrong, and that you're going to step on the wrong stone, and God's going to be like,
ha, you messed up.
And the more and more I get to know the God of the Bible, I realize that he loves us so much. And he says that he loves us, and he tells us how to live because he wants us to act in a way that is going to have repercussions to the people around us and future generations. Not because he's like, I hope this person does it exactly this way. And that's why I can't give a formula all the time. And that's why I want people to get in conversation, and people who know you to speak into your specific situation, because everybody may be a little bit different. For me personally, I've kind of been going through this thing where this last summer, I started evaluating the work that I was doing. And I feel like I'm at a place where I'm starting to hear from more and more of you, and I'm so encouraged by the kind words that you say to me about this work. But I also am getting a lot of questions where I'm like, well, I answered that 4 years ago, you know? And I have wondered, I'm like, is there a time to kind of put a bow on something, or is there a time to put a pause on something? And I have spoken to a number of people who know me and know my heart, and my heart is so to help my generation, and I have been so passionate about the work that I've been doing. But I also feel like I need to actually create the space to pause and to rest. And I've been thinking about sabbatical and Sabbath, and sabbatical comes out of the word Sabbath, which is scriptural, and it's this, we are to have Sabbath every week where we rest. But rest can look different for different people. It means it's rest from work. It doesn't necessarily mean you stay in bed all day. For some people, you may physically need to take a nap. But sabbatical is something that a lot of companies have taken on. Even I heard this guy who's like, I'm not religious at all, but he's a creative mind, and he does phenomenal work. But he would say that the reason he does such interesting work is because he started understanding the power of sabbatical. So instead of retiring at 65, he was like, I'm going to retire at 70, and I'm going to take those extra 5 years and space them out every 7 years. And so every 7 years, he stops working for a year. Literally like an away message for a year. Now, financially, not all of us can do that, but the original intent of, scripturally of taking a Sabbath, or this even, they would have the land rest. They still do this in Jewish cultures, of having the land rest every 7 years, is of going, God, this is yours. I'm going to trust you with my resources. And anything that grew naturally in the land was up for grabs. It did not belong to the person who owned that piece of land. Once the year was over, that person could start farming the land again. But there was a year where whatever grew went to anybody else. And we know in nature that revives the land, and then it ultimately grows better. So not only is it an instruction from God saying, trust me, but God also knows how he created the land. And so I think that's also, God knows how he created us, and he knows that we need rest. And so I have decided that I'm actually going to take a time of sabbatical and rest to rethink what it is that I'm doing, what the future of my work may look like. And consequently, I made a decision to go on this sabbatical, and then one of my friends was like, do you realize that's exactly 7 years to the month that you went away after your big breakup? It was 7 years. And then, irony or not, when I went away and I broke my ankle, it was right in the beginning of that season. I had made a choice to have a concentrated rest, and then I was physically had to rest in my bed. And now I am this is the first time I'm not in my cast. Just yesterday they told me I could stop wearing it, but I broke my foot just right before going on sabbatical, and they said it's taking a long time to heal, so it's going to be another 6 weeks. So there's just this interesting forced pause and a choice for pause. But I really believe that whatever it might look like for you, I want to encourage you to look into, what do I need to rest from? And again, it doesn't necessarily mean just going to bed, but maybe it means pausing from this area that you feel like controls your life to give in another area, or to just create the space so that you can create something else. That's where I'm at, and all I can tell you is I don't know what's next. But I can tell you there's over 500 blog posts of my thoughts that really have not changed in the last 5 years. And there's still going to be an activeness to Love and Respect Now. I feel like I'm handing it off to you in a sense, because I want the conversations to continue. The Facebook page and Twitter, all these things are going to continue to push out stuff from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 years ago, as well as I'm going to have some kind of curriculum, if you will, with bundles of my videos. And I haven't decided what I'm going to name it yet. Right now I'm thinking Bundles of Joy. I love it. But if you have other ideas for what it should be called, put it in the comments below. But those will be released over the year in 2015. I've got a number of them, so there'll probably be a new thing every month. So I'm excited about that, but I'm taking time to pause and rest, and I really don't know what's next. So if you pray, I would love you to pray for me in that. But in case I don't come back, I do want to just share with you all that if you've ever heard me speak, one of the things that I've paid attention to over the past number of years is that, you know, relationships is my thing on this site. But when I get up on stage, there's nothing else about my work that causes me more of a pause and this heavy feeling of responsibility than speaking. And I think because the catalyst to me doing Love and Respect now was when I was wrestling with my faith more than anything else, that like I feel so compelled to challenge people to think about what it is they believe. Because especially when Christians write me and they write and they ask questions and they're like, you know, should I do this or should I do that? Or what does God say about this? And there seems to be this like fear around it. And sometimes I'm like, well, first of all, it feels like you're trying to follow a formula. But second of all, like, what do you actually believe? If if you've grown up in Christian culture, but you've never paused to figure out what it is you believe, then you're just following a set of rules instead of out of a love and a reverence for this good God who you believe loves you. You're paranoid. And so I always come back to belief. But then I also know that there's a lot of people who just don't believe. And so I every time I get on stage, I find myself struggling, like, is this real, Joy? Do you really believe this? And speaking has been so beautiful for me because it's forced me to think about it. And that's why I love the passage in Scripture where that guy is talking to Jesus and he's like, I believe, but could you just help me with my unbelief? And Jesus responded to him and was like, that is faith, And so I guess I just want to leave with like a challenge for my friends who don't believe and maybe have never even thought about what they believe, although I think we all think about it or have thought about it. But Scripture talks a lot about how we posture our heart and that we can posture our heart towards openness or our hearts can become hard. And I think when people's hearts are hardened, I think it's a slow process of just not actively moving forward and trying to figure out what they believe. And so I just want to encourage anyone who maybe hasn't prayed ever or in a long time just to go, God, if you're real, show me something. And you can have freedom because it's like, if he's not, then okay, And then for my friends who do claim to be Christians or believers, I want to challenge you also to figure out, do you really believe this? Or are you just going through the motions? Do you just like being a part of a church culture? Or do you just, because that's the only place you can find friends, Or have you just been following these rules and these regulations because it makes you feel better about yourself? But if you are a Christian because you want to have the right answers and you want to have this formula, then I don't know what you believe. Because I believe that as we push forward to understand Jesus, that's probably when more questions will arise. But you know what it should breed is a posture of humility and a posture of love and this feeling of freedom as you try to live right and righteously because you love God, not because you want to have a checkbox and just get it right, So hopefully I'm making sense, but that's what I feel when I get on stage or I speak. That's what comes to my heart the most, is just everybody being honest and trying to figure out what we believe. Because if this is true, if the God of the Bible, which is the basis of so much of the advice that I try to give, then I think that it does change how we live. But it has to come from this place of humility and love. So think about the voices that we listen to, because there's a lot of people out there who are, funny and evoke emotions in us, but we can't be like the Wall-E world or being on the airplane where we just, this is funny, I like how this makes me feel. Like, please never let anything that I've said in any of my videos abdicate you thinking and praying for wisdom about your specific situation or going to people who really know you. And then secondly, I just want to challenge you to pray and think about what you actually believe and why. And then the last thing is I want to encourage everyone to go to cemeteries. I wanted to film this video in my cemetery because I love it so much. I go there multiple times a week. And with my broken foot, 2 days ago was the first time I got to go in like 6 weeks. I was in my little cast boot and I was like, I'm here. I missed you, friends. I just think going to cemeteries is so important, and not just because I am morbid, but we do need to think about the fact that this is a very short life. And I'm not trying to give anyone an anxiety attack, but I think that there can be a level of calmness if we go to these places that cause us to think about how short life is, cause us to possibly pray and go, God, if you're real, what's the point? And then I think that changes how we live. I think you get to a place where you're like, wow, there is such limited time, and if this is truth, and how am I living, and the choices that I'm making, and the people that I'm treating, that kind of mentality is what will keep you from hopefully watching the same show 27 times on Netflix over and over and over. Because at a certain point you got to get up and you got to live. I'm not against Netflix, let me tell you. Oh boy, I could start talking about shows right now. But there's a certain point where we have to live. And so I just want all of us to think about what might be the thing that you need to do to live right now. Is it that there's somebody that you need to forgive? Is there maybe someone that you need to ask out? Or maybe there's someone in your life that you just need to hug and say thank you for how you serve our family. But maybe for you, the thing that you need to do right now is to actually look at an area where you might need to rest and take a sabbatical. And that is what I'm going to be doing. So thank you for hearing me out. All right, well, I don't know. See, I never know how to end these. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I've struggled with sign-offs. Eventually, Matt just started cutting me off. Signing off. I don't like that. Nope. Wait, what was I gonna say? What was that line? I'm gonna get back to make yourself, yeah. Oh, wait, that sounded weird. I should have just ended it right there. Let me just, one more time. I get so awkward. I want that moment. But I also feel like I need to tell you guys goodbye. I mean, it's like, we're friends, and I'm like, okay, I just wrapped this Ask Joy video and I need to say bye. But it would always get really weird. So, thankful for editing. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen. Well, on that note, I'm going to read The Art of Instruction. Is that a good sign off? You guys, one of the things, I have this weird thing, and there's a name for it. It's not like creepy weird. It's just there's some people that there's certain sounds that make me instantly relaxed. So like this. Or on a steering wheel, if you're turning the steering wheel. If someone else is turning the steering wheel, especially if it's like a sunny, hot day, and the blinker is going, and then they turn, and then like if they have gloves on and the steering wheel slides through their hands, I mean, I literally am like. And then a childhood one of mine was going to the library, and I didn't like to read growing up, but I would check out all these books and I would make sure that they were the kind that had the plastic cover, just because I loved so much going up to the desk. And then I'd put it down, and then she would be this old lady that would have glasses with chains, and you take, all of these sounds would relax me so much. Her putting on her glasses, so the ching, 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 and then her getting a pen that also had a chain, ching, 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 and then her going, I don't know, you can't hear that, but you know when there was the plastic sound, it was like, and then she would take the stamp and be like, and then she would write something, and then the card, and then the next book. I mean, if I had a blankie and a pillow, I would have been sucking my thumb and I would have been out. Those sounds, if you have it, you know what I'm talking about. Well, welcome to Joy's Corner. Today we're going to be reading a book about shrubs. You can learn a lot about shrubs. Oh, La Plante. La Plante Jenny Fleur. Well, that's about it for today. Thanks for joining me in Joy's Reading Corner. If you would like to purchase this online, it will come with a nice plastic cover. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, did you want to get in the car? Oh, maybe we should turn left.
really weird.
To love. Why were we just something. Maybe wink's stupid, especially if you're like me, you can't really wink. Let's just improv. But I want you to do it like this. It's my birthday! Woo! What? If you're a believer, it's like our pool's already really small and now I gotta not date my sister? That's not, maybe we shouldn't go there. Wants to let his, well.
I'm crying from trying not to laugh.
Really?
Yeah.
Tonight's top story, friend reviews. No. I don't like how this one's going. Sorry, I'm gonna start over. You can stick in it and say, oh gosh, I said stick in it. Try to I need human contact, but this will have to be the closest thing. And if you're replying to a lot, sorry, that I'm not attracted to. Wait, that came out wrong. What? Wow, water. I'm gonna take a nap.